Ben, it's such an honor to welcome you. Before I take you to ask some questions about your journey so far, I just wanted a quick perspective of you and you coming to Detroit and how you see Detroit has changed and is evolving to the next stage.
Well, delighted to share that. And first and foremost, I really want to thank Tel and you for inviting me to TiE Detroit. As you know, I've been associated with TiE for a very long time, right from its inception. And I take this seriously as a duty to help entrepreneurs, support entrepreneurs, and spread entrepreneurship. So that's what brought me here. Um, First and foremost, I'm just delighted with at least what I see of Detroit so far. I think Detroit has gone through major transformation. I can see that in this part of Detroit, both in terms of the infrastructure and the quality of everything that I see around me. I've been especially impressed, even though I came as a keynote speaker and I was somewhat reluctant as to how my day would go today, and I brought enough work for me to do in my room in case I was not too keen on sitting through all the panels. I have gone out and already tell this that I've been actually from the morning till now been busy attending all the panels. It so happens that I'm involved with looking into activities in artificial intelligence as well as ADAS, which is autonomous driving, and there is whole track since morning dedicated to that area. And I met people from Denso, from Bosch, from General Motors, from practically, all types of automotive companies who are doing research in this area. I also got to talk to people from Microsoft who are doing a lot of AI work in the cloud. So I had a full day today, and I feel very productive and very good about the fact that my day was useful. But more importantly, it shows that TiE is doing a great job. TiE Detroit is really a small outfit out here that I wasn't aware of, is just doing a remarkable job of bringing in high quality speakers, putting together panels. Of course, there are not more than 30, 40 people in one as compared to Silicon Valley where maybe a larger number of people, but good quality interactive discussions we had whole day today. So no, I'm overall very positive.
Yeah, thank you. It's gratifying to hear that. Um, when entrepreneurship doesn't change much, the game has been the same since your days. So now that technology is evolving and AI is your area of interest, but AI is applicable across the verticals, and there's always this concern and somewhat fear also that people are putting that you have to be really careful when it comes to AI's application. What is your take on it?
I think the fear is well founded, except I think it's a bit premature. I think there's too much hype about AI, especially in the general media where common man reads newspapers and reads about how things are just getting taken over by machines. That is not really true. We are at the very beginning innings of AI, and we have long ways to go. There is just no doubt in my mind about it. However, having said that, it truly is the first time in the history of mankind where we are making machines intelligent. That is, we are putting intelligence in them in a way that will make them do things better themselves, as opposed to humans using the machines to get more productivity out of them, which is what we have done throughout this industrial age for the last over 100 years. So there is a distinct difference in my mind. Whether it will lead to robots taking over mankind or not, I think these are exaggerated ideas in the near future. Now, in the very long term, yes, it has implications, and hopefully societies and very people who are intelligent enough to figure out these technologies will also figure out ways to work around those technologies and make sure that we live in a very peaceful and humane way.
Every challenge obviously brings with it an equal or better opportunity, and that's where the opportunity for new entrepreneurs lies in this space. When you're talking to entrepreneurs who are doing innovative work in AI, where do you see some of the opportunities so the young entrepreneurs can learn?
I think the opportunities are pretty widespread. Since I said a few minutes ago that AI is really in the beginning innings, in very early stages of its formation. AI is like a secret sauce or a glue that you can label across every field and everything we do. Like Andrew Nagov, who's known as father of deep learning, has used a statement that AI is a new electricity. In a way of describing is that just like electricity over the last 100 years has gone into every nook and corner of our living where we don't even think about it, that we are using electricity to do everything we do around us. Similarly, AI will be permeating through every aspect of our life and all types of technologies, in entertainment, in media, in healthcare, in automotives, just name it, all around us. In our cell phone, we'll have AI built into them so we can get more intelligent, well-defined answers, as opposed to when we make a query, we get dozens and dozens of responses and we have to pick one. We'll be able to narrow down on one much more accurately. So there are opportunities across the board.
I want to take you back to the entrepreneurship question. Obviously people come to you for advice and people come to you for investments, and you have run a very successful fund in India at a time where it was an opportune time with India-US venture partners. The entrepreneurs that you see now, the young kids, with the new innovation and the new technology emerging, and then you reflect back about 15, 20 years ago when entrepreneurship had a different wave. What are some of the similarities you see, and how do you think they are different or better or more energized than before, or more aggressive or more ambitious?
I think I see more of we are at a different stage of entrepreneurship in at least the high technology industry, because 10, 15, 20 years ago, as you know, technology was still, internet was just coming into play, and technology was all about making chips, semiconductors, microprocessors, building computers, luggable machines, which finally became laptops. So the technology was all around creating new type of tools, if you will. Now, those tools are become commodity. So the current generation of millennials who are being born today, they probably don't even know what a telephone was, or what there was a desktop computer that people were tied into doing their work with. For them, it's all about taking these fundamental building blocks that exist of these commodities, putting them together with an application and an API, and really rolling out a utility of them that is an application for them. So I see just an enormous explosion in number of companies, startups that can be done to create that, because it doesn't require a lot of money. You're not creating some fundamentally new science. You're not dealing with electrons and how fast they move inside of semiconductors. You're really dealing with applying what already exists into different type of applications. And that process requires less money, less time, and less overall resources to go get it done. And therefore, a lot more people are involved in doing it.
Next question is about inspiring and leadership. One of the fundamentals of leadership is to inspire people around you and who work with you. How would you define a good leader?
I think a good leader, in my opinion, is someone who has a vision, a very crystallized vision, and is able to articulate that vision in a simple manner that people that he's trying to inspire are able to comprehend and understand. And through his charismatic leadership that comes through either how great a person you are in terms of the accomplishments you had in your life and what you were able to accomplish, is able to inspire thousands of people to follow him or her in the calling that he wants to set out.
Because when young entrepreneurs approach individuals like you for advice and for investment, one of the qualities is you look for a person who can execute from zero all the way to 100 or A to Z, but also be a leader to carry the team with him or her. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. They could be part of an entrepreneurial team. So how do you then separate the wheat from the chaff? Tell them you can be a good entrepreneur and be a leader, or you can be part of a different team. That's something you have to pick, I guess.
Of course, one of the things that I've learned about entrepreneurship and investments into entrepreneurs is to not only look at the idea that the person has come up with, which should be compelling and should be able to address a very large market, so that you, even if you're wrong, with few iterations, you are able to get to the right track and at least make something out of it. But more importantly, the kind of person that you're looking at. And more importantly, in that area, we are looking at, does this person have fire in the belly? Is he or she really, really passionate about this idea? Because that's what will take for them in the initial phases of it to be able to cross over through all the hurdles that will come along the way and all the missteps that they will take. As to whether they are truly a strong leader in terms of being able to inspire large teams of people and build companies worth billions of dollars, is very early at that stage for us to judge. And as we go along and we find that after the Series A or B or C, that these people are not necessarily the one who can now scale the company beyond initial prototyping, experimentation, and launch into markets, we work with them closely to then have them understand that it's in their goodness to have another team member take over that task who is more suitable for leading in that. So I think you have to accept, you can't right on day one tell someone that, hey, you're not going to be a good leader, so I'm not going to invest in them, because what they are bringing to the party is totally innovative, creative, and different. And the other leader, who may be great and inspiring, may not actually have that type of a skill to bring to the party. You need all of that together to make a great company.
It's a very good lesson, Vin. Thank you for that. And I want to finally take you back to Pentium, because without that, we cannot have any interview complete with you. And that's, your role and your title has been given to you as the father of the Pentium chip. I don't think there'll be another person with the title. So it'll be good because there are a lot of young people who still look up to you with admiration and, to get inspiration from you. When you are building a high quality product as important and as relevant as Pentium, some of the learnings from that particular phase.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting you're asking me that question at a time when I just last week was contacted about perhaps making myself available with, and I might try to bring a couple of my key team people if I do go ahead and do that for a 25th anniversary of Pentium, which is next year. So I didn't even realize we have completed 25 years of the launch of this seminal chip that really in some ways changed the world. Because until Pentium, the desktop computers were using chips like Intel 486 and Intel 386 and Intel 286 and Intel 88 and 8088, 80 from the original IBM machines. And of course, there were comparable computers being built by Apple through their own processors built by IBM and Motorola and a consortium of companies. But the large number of computers were based on Intel-based chips. And the big difference in Pentium from the previous generations, and why I think it took hold amongst many things, was one, I think the market had matured to a point where computers were no longer being used just for productivity applications inside of the enterprises and corporations, which were using, by the way, 486 and 386 and had begun to use them in a large number. But now the households, the homes, the consumers were beginning to buy computers. I think that was an inflection point in the market that we capitalized on beautifully, not only with our technology that we created, which was fast enough to enable those multimedia applications and CD-ROMs and gaming type of things that most households will use beyond doing spreadsheets and PowerPoints and Word documents. But also by naming the chip with Pentium and the entire Intel Inside campaign behind it, done brilliantly, we were able to really make this chip stand out as more than anything else I think any other semiconductor chip in the world has ever done, because of its naming and branding and the timing of what we created. So yes, there was a mixture of both technology and marketing and branding that made this chip very special. Now, what's not known to a lot of people is that when Pentium was coming out, the other thing that happened, the very fact that it had become more well known that computers are going to become a big market, it attracted a host of new companies who became competitors to Intel that had not even existed till a couple of years before that, because they all were now searching for that particular, going after that market. From Sun Microsystem, that was a workstation company meant for very high-end engineers to create their programs. They wanted to go into building desktop machines. And there were companies like Compaq that tied up with Microsoft, and with a company called MIPS. Most people I don't know whether the company exists anymore or not, but they had created RISC-based processor that would now compete for Intel. IBM was building a chip called PowerPC that they were trying to move into. Of course, it was Motorola that was building a chip. So I think the competition was very, very intense. And not only it was intense, the industry had figured out a more simpler way to make a microprocessor called reduced instruction set computing. And we were doing a very complex way to make a microprocessor. But we had one advantage over the rest of them, that we had a lot of software that was already written on our platform. And therefore, if somebody had to adopt their platform, they had to rewrite all that software. So our goal was to make sure the performance went up, even if it didn't go up as high as their performance. If it was high enough, which prevented rest of the thousands of software developers from shifting away from Intel platform to a RISC platform, we would be safeguarded, and that's what I did. That's what my team did. That's all we made sure that our performance was at least 2x of what the previous generation was, and therefore we kept the ball rolling.
Always an inspiration, I think. Whenever we hear the story, it's never tiring. I really appreciate you coming down, and thank you for the opportunity to sit down and talk with you. Looking forward until the next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Okay.